So, those that don't know, I'm going to give you a very, very condensed history of tattoos in Japan. Very condensed. Tattoos in Japan were actually introduced by China. China had been using them to mark their criminals. And so, it was introduced to Japan as a way to denote criminals. So each tattoo meant something different. Whether it was a dot, 2 lines, they all had a different meaning. And they all stood for a different crime. Now, when tattooing started to flourish, not in the criminal sense, was when criminals decided, they had done their term, they had paid their price, and they didn't want to be marked as criminals anymore. So they started covering their criminal tattoo with beautiful works of art. Eventually, as time went on, it developed into itazumi. Itazumi is pretty much a very Japanese style of tattoo. So when you see back tattoos on certain Japanese citizens, when I say certain, Japanese tattooing actually went underground because it was banned. Mainly because the Japanese country had opened up to foreigners. And the people in charge, were afraid that tattooing would be seen as barbaric. Boy, were they wrong. So then, late mid-1900s, right around the time of the end of the war, a little bit after, tattooing became legal, but only for foreigners. So a tattoo artist in Japan could only tattoo foreigners. So you saw a lot of them in Yokohama, near the military base, of course. And these American sailors came over, and they would get these gorgeous, little bitty, in retrospect, little bitty pieces of Japanese itazumi. Well, rewind a couple, 100 years, and the Yakuza were getting bodysuits where their tattoos would end at their collar, and a lot of times there's a strip right down the middle. They would end at their wrists, and they would end at their ankles. Every other inch of their body would be covered in tattoos. The idea was, when you wear a suit or a hakama, yukata, they would be covered. Now, before Yakuza were getting tattoos, Japanese firemen had tattoos on their backs, symbolizing their bravery, symbolizing their dedication to their co-workers or their family. But when the Japanese government sent it underground, that's when the Yakuza started using it. So, tattoos are still stigmatized. And if you have a tattoo, whether you're a foreigner or not, the immediate Japanese idea, not necessarily assumption, but the immediate idea goes back to, well, only the Yakuza have tattoos. Granted, that's changing in this day and age, absolutely, but it's changing slowly. The reason being because tattoos were stigmatized for so long in Japan that it's hard to get out of that mindset. So once you associate all tattoos with criminals, it's hard to dial back and go, well, this is a gaijin, they may not be a criminal, it may be different in their country. Or this is a Japanese pop star, this is a Korean pop star. So the ideas are changing, but as with anything, change takes time. So as a foreigner, you don't have to cover your tattoos, but based on the stigma it is recommended. Better to be safe than sorry. Kind of like if you go to the river, you take a flotation device, or you find someone who can swim, or you have a backup plan. Same concept. So, when someone has tattoos, such as myself, and you are trying to be respectful of the culture you are entering, having tattoos and having to cover them, especially since mine are on my arms, it's difficult, but not impossible. So, that's it for my mini, very condensed history lesson on Japanese tattoos and why they are stigmatized. So just keep that in mind if you ever want to come to Japan. Most onsens, any public bath, any gym, most of them require that tattoos cannot be seen. So if you have like a little bitty one that's like this big, it can be covered by a patch, which is fine. But if you're like myself and most of my friends who have tattoos, they're not little bitty. So just keep that in mind. At onsens or ryokans, you can get a private room with a private hot spring bath. There is also, within the last few years, a Japanese onsen that caters specifically to people with tattoos. So there are options. Just keep in mind, there is a stigma, and everyone's still trying to get past that. So, till next time. Peace.